Yeah, that's right. That's Mushroom Man number 2, which is going to be the topic of today's video. I never thought I would see a card this far back doing well. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're going to be looking at a couple of OCG deck lists from this particular tournament. Now, the thing that caught my attention with this tournament was that is Mushroom Man number 2. The controller of this monster takes 300 damage during each of their standby phases, and then during your end phase, pay 500 life points to shift control of this card to your opponent. Well, Kshatriyal's game plan is they want to be able to blink zones. Now, in a matchup where you play, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, the Kshatriyal cards to lock out 4 monster zones, and then you Mushroom Man number 2 to your opponent's field. So you just give them this, and they can't do anything. Now, unlike the Nightmare Corruptor Ibli play, where Lingaribo is an answer, Mushroom Man number 2 does not have an explored answer just at this point yet. Now, the hilarious thing about Mushroom Man number 2 here is he's a warrior. You can Rhoda for him, or you can, search for Rise Heart. This was a 1-card tech slot that showed up in this particular tournament that got 3rd place, and I was like, you know what? We're going to talk about Mushroom Man number 2. We're also playing Silent Wabi down here pretty much for the same application, to be able to hand this to your opponent, and then you're like, okay, cool, we blinked 4 monster zones. Now we're going to blank your last application for a monster zone, and then we can start going after the spells and traps. The cool thing with this, though, one other thing about this is that 300 damage can actually trigger your Kshatriyal cards, and the control shift also will trigger your cards. So if your opponent tries to hand it back to you, you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'll go ahead and trigger my Fenrir and my Unicorn to get the extra deck rip. It's kind of interesting overall. So we have 3 Asher Blossom with 3 Fenrir. We have 3 Rise Heart with 3 Unicorn. We have 1 Maxi, which is just cross-out designator target. We have 1 Mushroom Man number 2. 1 Kshatriyal Scareclaw with 1 Kshatriyal Tier Elements. Then you have 2 Called by the Grave, your 1 cross-out designator, your 1 Instant Fusion. 2 births. So to answer the generic question I've been asked by quite a few people, how many births do you play? Just focusing on 2. We have triple Papyrus, 2 Prada Prosperity, triple Parios with 1 Rhoda, 1 Terraforming, and then you have triple Tactic Tasking. This is literally the best card that you have in your deck. Now, if your opponent does a monster effect, you search for literally, all the good cards in your deck. And if they have the monster, you get to add it to your hand. So good. We have 2 Talents. This in combination with Talents is busted. We have 1 Ultimate Slayer. We have 1 Dimensional Barrier, 1 Evenly, and 1 Big Bang. Down here in the extra deck, you have 1 Avermax, your 1 Nightmare Phoenix, your 1 IP, your 1 Donner. We have 1 Diabolsis. Yeah, they actually get to play Tomahawk for mass field generation. We have 1 Big Eye, 1 Dracossack, 2 Shangri-La, 2 Arise Hearts, 1 Zeus, 1 Kit Gallos, and then you have 1 Inantis here. Then you have 2 Dimension Shifters, 1 Pankratops, triple Ghost Reaper. We have 2 Maxis, 2 Space Rocks, 2 Silent Wobbies, 1 Dimensional Barrier, and 2 copies of Evenly Matched here. Wrapping up your inclusion of Mushroom Man number 2 and a actual competitive meta deck. I actually, owner sealing it back to your opponent would be the most hilarious thing in the world. But this was your 3rd place list out of this particular tournament. Now, as we move on up here, 2nd place is going to be much more meta filled. Now, one big thing about this list is we are focusing on triple birth. I will make the argument here that you can focus on 2 birth or 3. It's going to come down to your personal preference. And then down here is the Book of Eclipses that we've talked about, starting to see anti-meta play. Like, your big main focus with these is, Shangri-La, they start locking out your zones. You need a way to kind of break yourself out of that. And that's what you get with this card. All right, you can make an argument to play these with the Book of Eclipse or the Book of Lunar Eclipse. I've seen builds that will play both, so you do have multiple option trees in order to do your thing. And I mean, this card right here will also just clench victories for you. Like, you don't even have to. This card alone right here will close the game. So will this against here. So for this being an anti-meta tier deck, it does so much work. So we have triple copies of your Ash Blossom again. This one's focusing on your Dimension Shifters. 2 of your Moonlit Chills. You have triple Fenrir here. Now this one's playing the 1 Ogre, which is fine. You have the triple Rise Heart, triple of the Unicorn, triple maxi, and then we're only playing one of the Scareclaw. We're not focusing on the tier. The downside of not playing the tier one, honestly, is it's one less extender, but you do have to have something to basically be able to banish to bring out the Scareclaw and that, so it's understandable why you'd cut back on those. We have two of the Called by the Grave, one Crossout Destineer, your triple Birth, triple Papyrus, two copies of Pot of Prosperity, triple copies of Prios, one Terraforming, your triple Imperm, then you have one Big Bang, and then you have one Preparation. Alright, down here in the extra deck, you have one Donner Dagger for Hire. I have talked about before that a lot of these extra decks focus on this card because it's an immediate out to something, alright? Don't underestimate what one generic spot removal card can actually do for you, alright? Like, you will be seeing a lot more of this. We have one Asa, then we have one copy of the Volofingus, we have one Red Ice Flare Metal, one Diabolsus, one Harmonizer Gradle, one Big Eye, two copies of Shangri-La, two Rise Hearts, one Zeus, with one of the Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation, with one Baron, and then we have one Kit. And then you have triple copies of your Ghost Reaper, one Lava Golem, triple copies of Book of Eclipse, two Forbidden Lance, triple Pointer, two Evenly, and then one copy of Red Reboot here, wrapping up your second place. Now, going on to win this event, oh boy, you should be very familiar with this toxic mess. This is what we've seen this deck evolve into at this point in time. You know, your tier package has definitely gotten pretty far along, but they're now focusing on these two more so for your generalized interactions. I mean, it sucks that they had to cut back on these cards, but perfectly understandable. Also, once again, you see those Book of Eclipses down here for those side deck options to kind of cut off Shangri-La. Alright, so we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring. You have your one copy of Moonlit Chill, triple copies of Fenrir, one copy of Keldo, triple copies of Maxi, then you have triple copies of Mudora, two copies of Havness, and then you have two copies of your True Elements, broken card for milling 3. We have triple copies of Merly, triple Reno Heart with triple copies of Shayren. Then we have one Foolish Brittle Goods, one Instant Fusion, two copies of Parios, one copy of Paralenia. Then you have two Screech, one Terraforming, your one Talents, your triple Imperm, and then two Solic for your main deck. Down here in the extra, you got the one Sprint, of course, one Sprite Elf, one Dahark, one copy of the Soldier of Chaos, one Asa, one Time Thief Reader with one Gigantic Sprite, one copy of Exoton Knight, one Zeus with one Dweller. Then we have one Rukalos, two Kitgalos, one Kaleido Heart with one Draco Stapelia. Then we got triple copies of Ghost Reaper, triple copies of your Book of Eclipse, two Called by the Graves, two Mind Control, one triple Tactics Tasking with triple Evenly, and then one copy of Crime here. Wrapping up, main things I wanted to focus on this video were like tech choices and like how the OCG is kind of starting to evolve with some of these. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.